What's going on YouTube? It's the Game Zombie here with an all-new video on Mortal Kombat 11. So, ever since Mortal Kombat 11 was announced, the hype train just took off and fans instantly started theorizing what the roster would look like, which characters would make it, and what characters would be left out. Well, shortly after MK11's big reveal, I made a video on the game's base roster with leaked information I had received from an inside source. At first, I wasn't even going to make a video and release this info, but I consulted my subs in the community, and after high demand from both groups alike, I created the leaked roster video back in January, and the rest is Mortal Kombat hype history. Now, despite me telling people that things might change and that characters could be replaced, people still found a way to get upset when they learned that their favorite characters might not be returning, and even more so when the roster I provided turned out to be not 100% accurate as predicted. Some people were even so upset and disgruntled they were sending me hate mail and death threats. That's right, death threats over a video game. A lot of people seemed triggered by some of the random disappointing characters that were included in the roster, like Jackie Briggs, but most notably, people were upset because of a character named the Kollector. Now, in the video, I stated, well, just listen for yourself.
Finally, this last character who sounds like a joke, you guys. I'm still having a hard time believing this. It just sounds so ridiculous. We're getting a character called the Kollector with a K. That's right, you guys heard it right. The Kollector with a K, or Kollector. It just sounds so ridiculous, so unbelievable. Every time it comes out of my mouth, I just feel like an idiot saying it. Kind of like how I felt when I heard there was going to be a female character named Kronika, honestly. But this guy, I mean, he doesn't even have a name. It's just a title, the Kollector. I mean, have we ever gotten a character like that in Mortal Kombat? I don't think so. Like, what, the Shao Kahn? The Goro, you know, I don't know. It just sounds very bizarre. I'm really having a hard time believing this Kollector name. I think it could possibly be a placeholder. NetherRealm has done that in the past, but we can expect to see a new character nonetheless, in addition to Garrus and Kronika. I'm really thinking that this name was a placeholder because the name just sounds so ridiculous. It could be another character with a K, or I could have even gotten my information crossed and this could have been the placeholder for Kronika. It's very possible. And in that case, I'm just missing a character. But it would also just be odd to only have 2 new characters instead of 3. But honestly, with just how ridiculous this name is, that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. The Kollector was just a placeholder for Kronika, and she somehow like collects timelines or something. I don't know. It's just very bizarre. And the name sounds super cheesy. I could not imagine playing Mortal Kombat and every time I pick this character, the announcer says, the Kollector. But this character is confirmed as the newest addition to the Mortal Kombat universe, the Kollector.
So, from the very beginning, I had a difficult time believing this Kollector guy's name in the first place. As you heard, from the very beginning, I just struggled with this Kollector character. It just seems so random, and it still does. And so, instantly when I heard that name, I just thought, this has to be code for another character. This has to be a placeholder name. And it looks like I might have been correct. So after my video released, a lot of people were saying I was full of shit, I was lying, I was doing it for the views, I was doing it for the clicks, my information was fake, there was no source, and some time passed, and then a bomb was dropped on the MK community. A leaked trophy list surfaced and changed everything. Within that list contained almost the entire base roster for upcoming Mortal Kombat 11, using the first 3 letters of characters' names describing trophies for performing fatalities with certain characters, and all the characters were listed using the first 3 letters of the character's name. Coincidentally, one of the characters' first 3 initials was, can you guess? KOL. And all of a sudden, you couldn't go on a Mortal Kombat fan site, chat room, comment section without someone mentioning the Kollector. Every MK YouTuber, every game site acted as if this information magically appeared out of thin air and fell into their laps. It's still so bizarre to hear and read this kind of stuff that no one has even tried to explain where this Kollector came from. They're just, oh, fans are giving him a name, or fans are theorizing it's the Kollector. How? Where did this information come from? I know where it came from. Do you guys know where it came from? I know a lot of you guys know where it came from. It came from my leak. That's where the Kollector originated. The character never publicly existed in the Mortal Kombat universe until my roster video. And don't even take my word for it. Honestly, just go online, search Mortal Kombat Kollector or The Kollector Mortal Kombat, and cross-reference my video and the dates of the articles and other videos. I bet everything in my bank account that you will not find a sliver of information regarding the Kollector prior to my roster reveal video. Now, despite this, people still say my information is bunk. They still are accusing me of fake information, but you can't have both. It's either fake and there was no source and it was all bullshit that I pulled out of my ass, or it's real and just like I said in the disclaimer of that video, things change. But for the most part, the roster I was given was accurate. Unfortunately, characters like Jackie Briggs and some other characters seem to be in the roster in place of some really interesting characters and 3D era characters that people really wanted. That's out of my control. I don't make the news, I just report it. So all that being said, that brings us to this long burning question. Who exactly is the Kollector? As I stated previously, I long suspected that the Kollector was a placeholder or a code name for another Mortal Kombat character. And after some new information has surfaced, it looks like that's exactly the case. So recently, some alpha test footage surfaced of MK11, and immediately something very intriguing was noted. It was some footage of Garrus, but above his name where the variation is located, a description was in place containing his development code name. And what was that code name? None other than TER. Yeah, that's right, TER. Just like the letters found in the trophy league. So if they used a placeholder name for the trophy list, I think it would be safe to assume that the same could be said for the Kollector. And as I've stated, that's something that I suspected the entire time. Now, the Kollector could be an all-new character, but if the Kollector is indeed a codename, which I highly suspect that it is, what character could possibly be fitting of such a name? Now, several people, and I'm talking about a lot of people, suspect that it is the long-awaited OG Sorcerer Supreme himself, Shang Tsung. And that's not a bad theory. Honestly, that's what I thought too. Shang is a fan favorite, we all missed him in MKX, and he's notorious for stealing and collecting souls. He even has a giant vault for safekeeping and storing them so he can slurp them down whenever he gets a little hungry or he wants to tighten up those 1,000-year-old wrinkles in crow's feet. I mean, he's even famous for his tagline,
"Your soul is mine."
Another thing that backs up this theory of Shang being in the game is the fact that Ed Boon teased a familiar fan favorite face during an interview with Brian Tong, sat down and said, "We find people and scan their whole face. It's not a 3D model or sculpting a nose." And he said, in addition to Ronda Rousey, there will be one more familiar face from the actual real world that will be making an appearance as a character in Mortal Kombat. And a ton of people suspected that he was referring to Kerry Tagawa, who was the actor that played Shang Tsung in the Mortal Kombat movie. And on top of all that, an awesome eagle-eyed fan pointed out that in the reveal trailer, Liu Kang was throwing a skull fireball, and he has never done that in the past. But somebody that does throw skull fireballs is Shang Tsung, and that's been his signature since Mortal Kombat's inception. Now, all these things are pretty strong evidence that we'll see Shang Tsung in the game. And on top of all that stuff, while I was editing this long-ass video, a new development occurred where a Mortal Kombat fan by the Twitter handle of Red Carter tweeted out, "Dude, I'm like 100% this is happening. By the way, you have to see this," and posted a YouTube video of a awesome render of Tagawa as Shang Tsung in HD. I will leave the link in the description box below. It looks fucking sick. But probably the craziest thing of all is Kerry, Shang Tsung himself, replied to that tweet, "Alt reality, parallel universes, time traveling, the space between, down the rabbit hole. In goes Shang and out comes Nobusaki. Stretch the edges." So clearly he is involved. It's so awesome that he actually responded to this tweet. And I have to say, the render of him looks dope as fuck. So all this stuff clearly points to this being a very real possibility. And all that just makes a really strong case that he could be the Kollector. Now, all that being said, he isn't the only one that could don the title of Kollector. There's somebody else in MK that is known for their love of souls, and that person is my favorite House of 1,000 Corpses, Ermac. Ermac was actually created to serve the Netherrealm, and he's actually made up of 1,000 dead warriors. Ermac is not only a fan favorite, but he's also my personal favorite, and heavily relies on his personal collection of souls to not only pull out some sweet ass fight moves, but he also needs them to live. He's basically just a rotting flesh sack stuffed full of souls. In other words, he's a giant rotten soul burrito. Now, while I'd love to see my boy Ermac in the game, I don't think that his chances are that high of being the Collector. Definitely not as high as Shang's, but a chance is still a chance, just not a huge one. Now, the next character I think could be the Collector is Onaga. Now, for those of you that are not aware, Onaga was the big boss in Mortal Kombat Deception and a huge part of the 3D era Mortal Kombat storyline. During Mortal Kombat Deception's story, the player spends the entire length of the story mode collecting these powerful artifacts crafted by the Elder Gods known as Kamidagu. These relics embody the essence of each of their respective realms, and uniting these artifacts would be used to instill great godlike power to Onaga, making him not only unstoppable, but one of the more memorable MK villains. Onaga was actually resurrected and used Reptile as a host or vessel, and was actually dead and kind of in this purgatory state, but was actually resurrected and used Reptile as a host. So it also makes sense to have Onaga in the game because it looks like Reptile might not make it, and this would just be a way of justifying Reptile's absence, and they could always chalk it up to an alternate timeline for future games if they wanted to bring Reptile back. Although I do feel like Onaga is a huge character and almost too big to be used outside of a kind of big boss scenario, I definitely could see him in the game. But honestly, I think he'd have to have a pretty significant role in the story to really be done properly. That being said, I do think it's possible for him to be the Collector, considering that it was his whole mission to collect all these Kamidagu. Now finally we come to my last theory, and that is the Collector is actually a hybrid mashup of Shang Tsung and Ermac. Now, before you have an aneurysm or throw your phone at a wall, let me explain. Ermac was created with souls. Shang Tsung steals souls. Ermac is made of the life force that Shang can manipulate and control. Think of it as like a Magneto Wolverine type scenario. Now at the end of Ermac's challenge tower ending in MKX, it showed him stumbling into Shang Tsung's ghost and being absorbed by the sorcerer to enable him to regenerate his physical form. While characters' tower endings aren't traditionally canon, sometimes elements of them are. And I could totally see Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat 11 with a specific variation that has a bunch of Ermac powers, just like MKX did with Katana and her mournful variation in honor of Jade. We also have had character combinations in the past, like with Noob and Smoke in Mortal Kombat Deception. I could easily see the same thing or something similar done with Ermac and Shang. But I personally would rather have separate characters than this type of odd combination. But if it's that or nothing, I guess I would take that, because I just want Ermac. Like, seriously. That being said, any of these theories is more than possible with the whole multiple timelines parallel universe dynamic, and it seems like Mortal Kombat 11 is going to heavily rely on that for pretty much everything. But out of all these theories, I definitely think that Shang has the highest probability of being the Collector. It just makes sense, and honestly, if it's not him, I think it might be just a whole brand new character, because as far as existing characters in Mortal Kombat go, he is definitely the most fitting to don that title. That being said, what do you guys think? Do you guys think the Collector is going to be an all-new character? Do you think he's going to be Ermac? Do you guys think he's going to be Shang? If you guys could choose, who would you want it to be? Let me know in the comment section below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to hit that like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe.